Hey, so I was browsing Waterstones yesterday, which for outside viewers is a major book retailer in the UK. They have a lot of interesting titles: history, social issues, politics, fiction, non-fiction, you name it. And they do have controversial publications, so what I'm going to talk about is by no means the first one. I mean, they've sold Mein Kampf with a disclaimer that it's solely for academic purposes and they in no way endorse the ideology of its writer. Um, I generally support freedom of the print press, that is to say, as many ideas as possible, including offensive ideas, um, to a large extent. So, what I'm going to be talking about, I'm not arguing that it should be banned. That's not my position. However, I think it exemplifies what's everything that is wrong with identity politics. So it's a book entitled, and apparently it's a Sunday Times bestseller, Why I No Longer Talk to White People About Race. And the author is Reni Eddo-Lodge. Now, I don't know much about her. In fact, I'd never come across her before, but she's 30 years old or 29, born in 1989. I understand of West African background. I may be wrong about that, but she's a Black Briton. That's the point. And it's it's just interesting that she's being held up as provocative and intelligent and a kind of heroine. Um, I haven't read the book, but I really don't need to, and this is why. When your title, when the title of the book is an exclamation that you're refusing to talk to an entire race about an important subject, what does that say? Now, apparently, Emma Watson, who of course is a white actress, nominated her for the Sunday Times bestseller or some other award. She's got a lot of recognition for this. But just imagine for a second a white writer writing something along the lines of why I refuse to engage black people or Asian people about such and such issue. Now, her apologists will say it's a David Goliath situation, and they'll get into the whole white privilege thing about, well, she's black, therefore she's always a victim, uh, and all white people are always privileged. But there's something very troubling and very divisive and very toxic at the heart of all of this, and it is this: as a base argument, as a base argument, she is identifying all white people as her enemy. Now, some may say the book itself is more moderate. It's just addressing certain social issues and it's being diplomatic in its language. Well, the title certainly isn't diplomatic. So if she turns around and says, oh, people are misunderstanding because of the title, well, what was your intention with that title? I just think it's disgusting that such blatant hate mongering can be seen as okay when the double standards are obvious. And this is the problem with identity politics in Western societies these days. Black bigots are given a green light, basically. I mean, what she is doing is trying to demonize and attack all white people, or at least give a collective shaming, because of what happened in the transatlantic slave trade. Even though there are more slaves in the world today, many of them in African states, than were trafficked at that time. It's estimated there are 27 million slaves in the world today. I don't know the exact figures for the transatlantic slave trade. It was a massive thing. It was evil, no question about it. But someone like Edo Jones views the entire world through the prism of white people are my enemy. And she's living in a predominantly white country, so she must be a very bitter individual. She feels that she's surrounded by enemies. I almost feel sorry for her. And here's the thing, I don't identify myself as a white man. I am white, and I do resent being made to feel guilty for things that were not my control, were beyond my control. I suspect the vast majority of people aren't even directly related to slavers, because the slavers were wealthy merchants, not working class people, not the majority of white people. So, yes, we should acknowledge our past, absolutely. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with saying, look, British wealth was built on the backs of human slavery. Cities like Liverpool, Bristol, London were made wealthy because of that. But I do strongly question what agenda does this serve, other than creating division and mistrust. And one can see that because if you look at the comments from black people on YouTube, so many of them are like, do not listen to the barbaric haters. Barbaric haters. And this is actually having a very toxic effect. I saw a few clips of her interviews and she's quite soft spoken and relatively diplomatic, but I see a real bigot beneath that surface. And I just think that there would be absolutely no way a white racist would be allowed to promote such garbage. And why should they be? The thing about freedom of expression, it should come with freedom of responsibility. But like I say, because she's black, she's forever a victim. You know, she's not an adult. We need to see her as having no responsibility for her own words because, hey, she's a victim. So she could say anything. And the counter will always be, oh, but she's black and you're white, therefore she can hate you, she can insult you, she can demonize an entire race. But hey, she's the persecuted one. I think it's disgusting to be quite honest. It infuriates me, and I think to those white left leaning people who make excuses for such people, really, I don't understand that because she's including you. She is actually including you. She may talk to you, but she sees you as the enemy because of the color of your skin. She doesn't care if you agree with her or not. You're the enemy because you're white. So the premise of this is people should be judged on the color of their skin. That is basically the premise of what she is arguing. She doesn't care about the fact there are left leaning white people who do support affirmative action, quotas, all the rest of it. No, they're white, so they're the enemy. They're just less of an enemy than, people like me. I see people of it as individuals. I don't care if you're black, white, Asian, Arab, or Hispanic. All I care about is your individual values and how you treat me. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But if you're going to be hostile to me because of the color of my skin, you can go straight to hell. I don't know how she gets along in a country like the UK because she must walk out of her house every day, see white people, and feel bitterness in her soul. I mean, and that's sad, but it's more sad the fact that she's being given a platform and promoted as some sort of intellectual. She's not. She's just a bigot and a hate monger. And one can see that by the agenda that she is taking, by the fact that she has published a book, made money from it. From what? From demonizing an entire race. It's disgusting. So shame on you, Reni Eddo-Lodge. Shame on you. And as for your apologists, I don't know what to say. If you're white, you're a useful idiot because she has as much contempt for you as she does for the rest of us and those like her. And it's sad because she's going to encourage black people to think. And incidentally, I don't think all black people will agree with her. That would be patronizing. But there are going to be some who lap it up and say, oh, yeah, we're all victims. The white people are evil. The white people are keeping us down. This sort of identity politics it's evil because it creates wedges in society. It creates racial tensions and mistrust. I think it's evil. I really do think it's one of society's great ills, this sort of divisive identity politics. Look, I've no problem with a book on race from a black perspective, and I accept that that wouldn't be, there'd be different angles that black people might look at, different life experiences. But to actually announce that you're refusing to talk to an entire race and use that as the title of your book, the white, by the way, was laminated on the book. It's just, I find it sickening to be quite honest. And the people who justify this are the same people who say that there's no such thing as anti-white racism. Well, the basic definition of racism is holding hostility towards someone or showing discrimination towards someone based on the color of their skin. So, if you look at all white people as the enemy because of the color of their skin, I had no choice over this. I'm not proud of it. I'm not ashamed of it. It just is. It's my demographic. If you're saying that you don't like me because I'm a white guy, then I say go and fuck yourself. Because I look at people as individuals, and that's how I expect to be treated. So someone is holding animosity towards me because I'm white or because I'm a man or I'm heterosexual. I'm not going to show that person any respect, and I sure as hell won't make excuses for them as Emma Watson is doing. And she interviewed Edo Jones, which is Eddo-Lodge, I should say, which is kind of ironic because she's included in that. It also shows Eddo-Lodge to be a bit of a hypocrite if she's saying she won't talk to white people. Oh, but maybe I have to because it's a white majority country, so I've not really got a choice. It's utterly pathetic, and I think it's very sad, to be quite honest. I'm angry, but I'm also saddened. I'm just saddened that there are people out there who are so bitter and so narrow-minded that they do this and they get away with it. It's just sad.